Melita Kimbrough lives in Las Vegas. She initially reached out to me on Twitter and said, I have been trying to get the body of my father for many months. Can you help me? And what I want to do in order to help her is tell her story in hopes that that may bring her some justice. She joins us now via Skype from her home. Melita, thank you for your time. I want you to first walk me back to the day your father died. When was it?
That was July 6th, we believe, but I didn't find out until about the 10th.
And we're talking about July of 2018.
Yes.
All right. So your father, whose name, and I want to make sure I get it correct, Benjamin Costoso Perez, was 73 years old at the time he died. He died. You had intended to have him cremated. Officials contacted you. He was found in his kitchen at home. He was taken to the Forensic Sciences Center in San Juan. You initially did not go. You live in Vegas. It's a long flight, but you had a cruise that was planned that was going to be going through San Juan. So you said, when I take the cruise, how many weeks was it after he died?
This was about a month after we found out. It was actually our honeymoon cruise, and we had planned after the cruise to go visit my father for 4 days.
All right. So you decide when you go on the cruise, a month after he died, you would claim his body, have him cremated, and you intended to take his ashes back with you to the States.
Correct.
I want you to walk me through the process of what happened when you got there. From what you have told me, it has been a nightmare. And for the record, it has been nearly 8 months. 8 months that you have been trying to get your father's body from the Forensic Sciences Center in Puerto Rico. So take me back to the moment you got there and you first went to try and claim his remains.
We got there about mid-afternoon. The first thing we did was try to figure out where the body was. So we ended up at where we were told to go, ended up being a jail instead of a police department. Then they didn't really speak English, and my husband and I don't speak Spanish, so they ended up sending us to another jail, and then it was Centro Medico, where no one understood where a morgue was or where bodies were kept in San Juan or where anything like that would happen. After we finally, I think it was about an hour and a half later, we finally talked to somebody who had broken enough English that she sent us somewhere else, and then we finally got to ICF from there. And they, at that point, or they told us where ICF was, and at that point, ICF had already closed for the day, so we had to start all over again the next day.
All right, so ICF is the Forensic Sciences Center. So you go the next day, and what happens?
So we go the next day, and of course, it's the middle of, or it's the end of August. It's extremely hot. I have on, you know, kind of a short jumper set, and get right to the front door, and security tells me that I cannot go in shorts. And I went, "You're kidding me." And he says, "No, you cannot go in shorts. You have to change and come back." And we literally left there, went to a Costco, bought me a pants and a shirt, and went to my father's house, got some things from his house, and then went back to Centro Medico.
So you're back at, well, you're not at Centro Medico, right? You're at the Forensic Sciences Center at this point.
Forensic Science,
right.
Yes.
Okay, so you're there. You go back a second time, properly dressed.
Yes.
What then?
Yes. So I go inside. I get let through this time. I'm waiting for anyone who speaks English, and not a whole lot of people do apparently there. Meantime, in the waiting room, there are 3 other people who were either in shorts or very short dresses who were allowed to go in with no problems.
So how long does it take before you're finally allowed in to either see your father's body or get some more information?
This started at we sat there for about 2 hours. It was about 2 hours, but we started this whole process at about 10 o'clock in the morning. And at this point, by the time I got in, it was just about 3, and I think they closed at 3 or 3:30.
Okay,
by
so
the time I finally got in.
You wanted to see your father's body. They told you you couldn't because there was some decomposition that had taken place. And so you argued with them, and you finally were shown a photo. Is that correct?
I was shown the photo 3 days later.
3 days later, okay.
Yes.
So you had to, you ended up having to go and see an attorney, right, to get an affidavit? What was that necessary for?
We were trying to go through his doctors or dentists to ID him that way. They said he was too decomposed to ID in a traditional method. But the reason we had to go specifically down there was to ID this picture. That's what they insisted on. That's what took so long to get down there. It wasn't that we wanted to. They just refused to send a picture or do it any other way so that we could do it quickly. So we had to go around the very next day. We spent going to doctors and dentists, and because of the HIPAA Act, no one would release any information to us at all.
So with the affidavit, being that you signed under the penalty of perjury that everything you're saying was truthful, you took it to the Forensic Sciences Center, and they used that. They showed you a picture of your father, and you said, that is my dad.
Right, but I had to fight for that. So that was day 4. This is the last day that they had, or day 3. At the end of day 3 is when they decided that we could do it via affidavit. So we got an attorney, went the next morning, got the paperwork done, came back. I said, I want to see my father, the picture. And they said, no, we don't do that. And I said, you made me fly all the way here. We could have done all of this a totally different way a long time ago. I want to see the picture. And they had to actually go through their legal department to make sure that that happened. And I did see that. And I said, yes, that is him.
Once you finally saw him, I'm assuming at that point you think, okay, now's the point at which I can claim him, right? Because presumably an autopsy had been done. Did you ask in that moment, are you done with his body? Have you done the autopsy? Can I now claim him?
Yeah, I did. And they said that they don't do autopsies until after the body has been identified. So they were going to start the autopsy process, and I would be looking at about 2 weeks before his body would be released to the funeral home that we set up and then have cremated.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so 2 weeks. So did you stay in Puerto Rico? Did you go back to Vegas? What happened?
No, we had already paid for the funeral home, made the arrangements, and at that point we went back to Vegas. I mean, we got that done literally 2 hours, that affidavit back and the paperwork back from them, the initial paperwork back from them, 2 hours before our flight took off.
So has the autopsy taken place?
The autopsy was done on September 6th, and somewhere around, I think it was October 24th, they decided that they wanted DNA.
Okay, so it was your aunt who went and provided it, correct?
Yes, she happened to be in Puerto Rico with my grandparents, and yes, so she went down and did that. So that was October.
Did that provide them with everything they needed?
Well, I still don't have the body.
So the autopsy's done. Do you have an autopsy report? Do you have a cause of death?
No. They will not release anything, not his death certificate, not the body, not the autopsy report, nothing until the very end. They said they'd do it all at the same time.
Who told you the autopsy was completed?
That was actually the lady who processed all the paperwork in the beginning. Her name is Melita. So she actually was the one that said that when I finally got a hold of her months later, she told me that the autopsy was done and that the body wouldn't be released. It takes 6 months for the autopsy report. So I would need to call back December 6th.
6 months?
6 months is what she told me. So I had to call back December 6th. I started calling on December 4th.
And what has happened since then?
Nothing. A lot of calls. Matter of fact, last week, it was about 10 days ago, I made calls down to ICF, and it took me 13 calls to finally get someone. It turned out that he was a contractor that's down there helping to ID the bodies. One of the people that got sent down, I guess, back in August. And he said that the place was a mess and that the DNA, they don't have the resources to even do DNA testing there at that facility, that it actually gets sent to the United States, and the United States has it on the lowest priority. So they don't know when it would come back. They said that to check, I think it was the date was January 10th, that it should be a month from January 10th, and that call was made on the 13th of February. And I said, well, it's already the 13th. We're already days behind it. And he says, yeah, you're right. Or the 12th. He says, yeah, you're right. And he says, just keep calling back.
Who was this contractor? What was his name?
I don't know his name.
And you just happened to get him on the phone going through the queue?
Well, I went through the queue. I started dialing every single number possible on there. At one point, I got the security guard 5 times. Apparently, he handles reception when nobody else decides to. So I got him several times, and he finally got somebody that's right there at reception initially before you ID the family. And she did not speak English, so after hanging up on me 3 times, she finally went and found somebody that spoke English, and it happened to be this random contractor.
Melita, what we're trying to do is get you some help. But other than that, what else can you do? What else are you going to do?
Well, my attorney had sent out our second demand letter 13 days ago. Our goal was to, as of last Friday, if we had not heard anything from ICF, that he was going to go to court and we would try to get a legal remedy that way.
I remember when you first texted me, you said, I'm desperate. I'm desperate for help. The governor may watch this. Members of his staff may watch this. What do you want to tell them?
Fix it. This is unnecessary. This is completely unnecessary. No one should have to go through this. There's just absolutely no closure. No, I'm almost numb at this point. It's hard. Fix it. It doesn't have to be like this.
Doesn't have to, and it shouldn't be.
No, it's cruel.
Melita, thank you. I'll let you know what we can do. We're going to try everything we can.
Thank you.